Welcome to the Homeschool Counseling Network's Meet the Preferred Provider series, where we highlight professionals from our preferred provider directory. I'm Kimberly Bennett, a licensed professional counselor with over 20 years of experience and a homeschool mom of 7 years. I'm also the founder and CEO of the Homeschool Counseling Network, a 501c3 nonprofit supporting homeschooling families. One of our free resources is the Preferred Provider Directory, where we feature homeschool family friendly consultants, coaches, allied health, and mental health professionals who are there to support you. To learn more about the work we do and how you can access our network, visit our website at homeschoolcounselingnetwork.com. Today, I have with me HCN Preferred Provider Joanne Kaminski. Joanne is an online tutor coach and certified reading specialist who has helped hundreds of tutors build profitable, sustainable online tutoring businesses. Drawing from her own journey as a once struggling reader, she now empowers children to make rapid reading gains, often closing gaps in as little as 12 hours. She has earned a master's degree in reading, trained educators around the world, and built a $1 million tutoring career that inspires others to do the same. Through her online tutor coach programs, she guides tutors step by step in attracting students, increasing income, and creating thriving online practices. Today, Joanne is widely recognized for her expertise, her compassion, and her unwavering commitment to help both tutors and young readers succeed. Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are delighted to have you here and on our series and as a part of our network. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? Like what led you into the field of education and then what drew you to pivot?
Well, I didn't want to be a lawyer. I actually went to school to become a lawyer and ended up realizing that it just wasn't my thing. I just couldn't end up do the things that they were saying that I would need to do. The morals are really important to me. And I started thinking about what is it that I want to do in life? And so, really quickly after that, it was teaching. So, I went through teaching and taught in the school system for 10 years, became a reading specialist, and I would have kept going. I loved teaching. Unfortunately, it was all the other stuff that went along with it. The political red tape, I kind of felt lost because I couldn't help kids in the inner city that didn't have the same kind of support as, other kids in other areas, and it was really frustrating.
I think so many educators can also, that will resonate with them that, you got into this field for the love of what you want to do. You want to help kids, but it's everything else that goes with it that just wears you down and kind of makes the light go out in your eyes for something that you once loved. What made you decide to pivot to become a consultant in particular with your tutoring business?
Well, it wasn't until I had the success with my tutoring business. So, I had actually tried 3 other businesses before I started tutoring, and I ended up taking a look at all of the different things that I could possibly do, right? Started 6 other businesses in the span of a year, was not successful. And it wasn't until I started putting my passion into teaching kids reading online that I really began to like light up again. I had to wear every single hat of a small business. I had to learn the marketing. I had to, learn the admin of your business. And I had to learn mistakes that I didn't want others to have to learn if they could skip those mistakes. And this was back in 2010. So a lot of people hadn't been doing what I was already doing at that point in time. Right. And so 2 years. Yeah, I always tell people it's pre COVID. I was tutoring online pre COVID. A lot of people were like, "How do you convince people to go online?" They were reaching out to me and asking me all these questions, and I thought, I should really put some things together to start supporting, other tutors so that they don't have to go through all of the mistakes that I had to go through because they were all making the exact same mistakes that I was making. And I said, if I put something together, at least even if they did start making some of the mistakes that I made, they could recognize it pretty quickly and pivot.
There's nothing quite like having a traveling companion and a mentor who is there to walk beside you and who's gone before you to say, okay, yeah, you're going to make mistakes and you'll learn from it, but here's how I resolved that. And here's the way that you can too. So As far as your niche, do you have a specific niche in your tutoring, your reading? That is your background. But how did you know that families would actually pay for this service? How did you know that this was a
I
service
didn't.
that families were wanting to?
100% didn't. I mean, I already had 6 businesses that had failed, and so really it was just, well, let's see if people will pay me for this service. First, I had to even realize, can the kids even see the passages on the other side when I share my screen? Because I was using Skype at the time. I had no idea if the words were going to be blurry or if they're going to be even, readable for the kids. So there were a lot of unknowns that I had when I was starting my business, but I absolutely had no idea if people would pay for my tutoring services online. However, here's what I did know. I said, I know that at that time, people were paying about $50 an hour for a tutor who did not have the kind of experience that I had at places like Sylvan. And I thought, well, if they're paying $50 an hour for a tutor, certainly somebody like me who has all this background knowledge in teaching reading and has gone for their masters, has, you know, stepped into the door of learning absolutely everything they can about reading to get success for kids, people would want to pay 40 for me, right? And so I really just it was really a proof of concept moment, right? I just had to decide, okay, will people pay for it? Do people want it? And it wasn't until I started working with kids and I started getting those results that I was just shocked myself. You had mentioned I was able to close the gap a full year with 12 hours of instruction. And that was an eye-opening moment when I discovered that. I was collecting my data for years until I, like, landed on that one result, and I was like, "Nobody else is closing the gap this fast." Like, this is something that I really need to start telling people about, that this is possible, that we've been teaching kids the slow way all these years. They can really learn so fast, and kids that don't have, learning disabilities, they, like, go at triple speed. I'm like, "Holy cow, like, I can't believe how fast you can learn." And then I'd get my kids with, with learning disabilities. I'm like, "But you're still even making, like, incredible gains." Like, in the school system, kids they are put into special ed so they can close the gap 2 years in 1 year, and we were able to close that gap in just 12 hours, just 12 sessions.
And how did you find yourself linking up to that client, though, that particular client, attracting the client in
Yeah.
particular that you knew would pay for your services?
At first, I just started putting out, like, signs in my area, you know, got a kid who's struggling, I can help. It was just real simple, put it there and waited for some of the phone calls to come. And then, it did just happen to be my ideal client in the beginning. And I didn't know that. I mean, I had people who asked me questions and they said things like, well, would you want to be able to work with adults? And I'm like, sure, I could help an adult. But I didn't realize all of the other things that I wouldn't enjoy about working with adults specifically. And, they struggle to have a consistent time for tutoring because they're like having 2 jobs and they're trying to go back to school so that they can earn some kind of a degree and it was just I just realized after that moment, okay, well, while I can serve adults and I can help them with learning how to read, it still isn't just where my passion is for being able to help. I really love when I can get those kids, even if they have dyslexia, in the earliest grades possible, because I know that if we can catch it early, early intervention is absolutely the key. So then I began honing over the years my own marketing message, and I started using the language that my ideal clients, I was hearing them use. They were saying things that their kids were crying at night, over their homework, and they couldn't read the directions. They were telling me these different apps that they were trying, like ABC Mouse. And so what I did is I took all of that information that I had gathered over the years and I started speaking directly to them with that language versus just saying, I offer reading tutoring services for dyslexia, for, kids that are just struggling. I stopped talking like that and I started talking to the parent as if, here I am, I'm a parent as well. I have 3 girls of my own, but just talking them one parent to another parent versus trying to sound so academic and so, you know, trying to sound smarter than I am or using language that they wouldn't be able to understand. I really tried to hone that language so they could hear what I was telling them.
You saw your audience. You truly saw them and you put yourself on that level playing field. You're like, hey, I see you. I'm right here. I'm going on that journey with you. I am a traveling companion to support you. I'm not above you. It doesn't matter that I've got extra knowledge and extra experience. You're still with your child and you still know your child better than anyone else. I'm going to give you tools that you can use. You did not put yourself on a pedestal above the parent. And I think that is where so many service providers get it wrong.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that because at the end of the day, we're all capable. Like when I tell a parent a skill, they can clearly go and do that with their child. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, people who homeschool their kids, I give so much kudos to every single parent who goes on out there and says, you know what, for whatever reason it is that I've made this decision for, if it's to better my family, if it's to, have our family closer, if it's to bring us all closer to God so I can be, breathing scripture into that, if it's so that I've got a kid who does have a disability and their needs just aren't being met in the school system. Or we want to travel the world as a family. We don't want to be tied down. All these different types of homeschool families and situations, they are beautiful. They are so beautiful. And, I find that a lot of times the smartest kids I have ever run into have been from homeschooling families.
So, to that note, we're going to talk with Joanne a little bit more about some more marketing and client attractions and financial realities of becoming a homeschool consultant. But for now, if you would like Joanne to help you launch your own homeschool, is it consulting or coaching businesses? You coach them to become consultants or coaches or both?
Help them with, running the marketing for their own online tutoring business, yeah. But all of the things that I teach for online tutoring, they actually do apply to it doesn't matter what you're actually applying it to. Absolutely, you can go to onlinetutorcoach.com and you will find all the information about me as a business coach and how I could help you. We also have a free community on Facebook, which is called the Ultimate Support Group for Online Tutors. And there's over 15,000 other online tutors inside that community where if you're just kind of dabbling and thinking about, I don't know if I want to do this, you can play inside of there and find out if this is right for you. If you have a kid that is struggling with reading, getting that early identification instead of waiting. I know that very well meaning friends, very well meaning people in your life might say, just wait, your kid is going to get it. Early intervention is key. I have some families that wait until their kid is 13. And, the gap is so big at this point, it's really hard to undo everything. And so if you have a kid who's in first, second, or third grade and you're wondering, do they have dyslexia? Do they seem to be reading slow. They're not, their letters are flipped. They're whatever you're noticing or seeing. If you're feeling like something is off, you are most likely right. And being able to get the right guidance at the right time is really going to be useful and life-saving for your kid because, when kids can't read like the other people they see around them, it affects their entire mental concept of themselves, right? They begin thinking, I'm not as smart as the other kids, or I'm not as smart as my other, siblings. They're smarter than I am. And they attach these false belief systems to themselves, which hinder them into reaching the goals that you may have or they may have in their life.
Well, thank you, Joanne, so much for coming in and chatting with our audience today. And I will make sure to put links to all of your where everyone
Yeah.
can find you in our description box below.
Fantastic. Thanks for taking the time to do this today.